Bob Crane marched on to stage 31 at Desilu in the summer of 1965, feeling bulletproof. The Midwestern kid who had conquered Los Angeles radio believed he'd finally found a vehicle big enough to carry his ego, his rat-a-tat charisma, and his drummer's sense of timing straight into television immortality. Hogan's Heroes, a sitcom about Allied POWs running rings around the Nazis, already looked bonkers on paper, but Crane could taste the ratings, gold buried beneath the premise. He swaggered past the guard gate, humming a Sousa march, rehearsing wisecracks he'd layer between lines, certain the crew would orbit whatever light he set off in the center of the soundstage. Then Richard Dawson happened. The 33-year-old Brit was reclining in a folding chair, legs crossed like a prince on holiday, running his dialogue in a smooth Cockney drawl that turned technicians' heads before the director even called action. Dawson's first throwaway gag detonated in the rehearsal hall, sharp enough to slice through Crane's confidence like snare-wire. The crew roared, that dangerous, unforced roar all entertainers recognize as a slap of truth. Crane's grin froze mid-dimple. Inside, a little drummer began furiously counting beats, trying to figure out how to recapture the swing of a room he thought he already owned. Crane told himself the new guy's laugh was lucky. But day after day, Dawson's ad-libs landed with surgical precision, eclipsing Crane's showpiece punchlines, shrinking the gap between leading man and supporting comic until it felt like a duel for oxygen. Crane, used to the rhythm of total dominance from his radio days, where he controlled every microphone, every rim shot, now felt rhythm slipping into dissonance. He began arriving 2 hours early to sit with writers, tinkering with taglines, demanding last-line privileges, even choreographing his body language so no camera could linger too long on Dawson's grin. In those fluorescent rehearsal rooms, a rivalry metastasized into obsession. Each glance, each shrug, each sarcastic kernel, old boy from Dawson lodged beneath Crane's skin like a splinter. The set of Hogan's Heroes would become a battleground masked by canned laughter, and the chain reaction ignited the first morning would ripple outward, distorting marriages, warping careers, and, some whisper, pointing the compass toward a Scottsdale murder scene 13 years later. To grasp why Crane's final act ended under a blood-spattered tripod, you must first understand how one English joke thief rewrote a drummer's perfect tempo into a desperate, discordant solo. Waterbury, Connecticut, 1939. 11-year-old Robert Edward Crane tightens the brass lugs on a battered snare and begins rattling out paradiddles, timing them to the tick of the kitchen clock. His mother beams. His father worries the neighbors. By 16, Bob is good enough to sit in with the Connecticut Symphony Orchestra, his sticks blurring in a whirlwind of Sousa marches. At school dances, he hides behind the kit, studying how performers command a crowd. When graduation looms, he pivots briefly toward duty, joining the Connecticut National Guard. Yet even military cadence cannot compete with the electricity he feels whenever he cracks a rim shot and hears a cheer. He wants that cheer every day, so he hunts for a microphone. 1950, a sweaty basement studio in Bristol, Connecticut. Crane barrels through weather, traffic, and impromptu drum solos between pop songs. The tempo is manic. The ratings climb. He leaps to WICC in Bridgeport, then WHIM in Providence, perfecting a breezy patter spiced with celebrity impressions. By 1956, Los Angeles calls. KNX-CBS offers a pre-dawn slot that most announcers dread. Crane turns it into must-listen chaos, interviewing stars fresh out of nightclub sets, teasing sponsors, cracking jokes at 250 words a minute. He slams a marching cadence on his toms whenever energy dips. Commuters sit in parking lots, unwilling to kill the ignition until Crane signs off. Hollywood press dubs him king of the LA airwaves. Sinatra strolls into the studio unannounced, just to riff. Walt Disney rings to offer compliments. Directors begin asking if the motor-mouthed DJ could handle a walk-on. Cameos snowball. A clerk on The Twilight Zone, a neighbor on The Dick Van Dyke Show, a grinning wise guy for Hitchcock. Casting executives notice Crane's ability to memorize pages on the fly, remnants of ad-libbing live radio. Then an unusual pilot script arrives. Hogan's Heroes, a half-hour comedy set in a Nazi POW camp. Network brass suspect disaster. Crane envisions dynamite. He meets producer Edward Feldman in a booth at Chasen's and bangs a knife on the table like a drum to prove he can keep the tempo frantic without downplaying danger. When the show premieres on September 17, 1965, ratings rocket. Crane's Colonel Hogan is part Bugs Bunny, part James Bond, flashing dimples while sabotaging the Third Reich. 2 Emmy nominations follow. His salary quadruples. Magazine covers hail him as television's most unlikely leading man. Episode 3. The camera tracks onto Corporal Peter Newkirk, and Richard Dawson slinks into frame with a cockeyed grin. A single punchline, "Just give me a minute, Colonel, I'll forge Churchill's signature stronger than his cigars," lands like dynamite. The audience at CBS Television City howls. Crane forces a congenial laugh, but behind his eyes, a scoreboard lights up. Dawson 1, Crane 0. Dawson's instincts are lethal. He waits for Crane's rhythm, then fires a counter-quip half a beat later, stealing the laugh. After a few tapings, crew members begin repeating Dawson's jibes at lunch. Fan letters mention that hilarious Brit. Crane feels the spotlight tilt. Scripts subtly shift. Newkirk's dialogue fattens. Crane starts arriving early to lobby writers. "Give Hogan the last laugh, boys. That's why the show works." Dawson swaggers past, winks, quips. "Let the Colonel worry. I've already won the war." Their chemistry on camera remains crackling, but off-camera tension thickens. Between takes, Dawson flips through Variety, tracking his name in gossip columns. Crane taps his sticks on table edges, impatient, rattled. Stagehands recall icy stares during rehearsals and sudden storms of laughter when one outmaneuvers the other. Director Gene Reynolds institutes a laugh cap. No ad-libs longer than 5 seconds. It barely helps. Back in Brentwood, Crane's high school sweetheart, Ann Tertzian, tries to maintain normalcy, packing lunches, cheering baseball games, pretending tabloid rumors aren't shredding her nerves. Crane's charisma magnetizes admirers. Secretaries slip phone numbers into fan mail piles. Airline stewardesses request cockpit visits where Hogan might autograph their cast list. Crane laughs it off until Anne catches him rehearsing pickup lines in the bathroom mirror. By 1969, after 2 decades, she files for separation. Their 3 children hold court-ordered phone conversations with Dad between his shoot days. Crane weeps, claims the divorce is a misunderstanding, but that same night finds him flirting at the Beverly Hills Friars Club. Months later, he marries Patty Olson, a Broadway sprite who adores his drums and promises endless adventure. Adventure arrives, though not the kind she foresaw. Sony releases the CV-2000 consumer videotape system in 1967. Bob Crane is first in line. Friend John Henry Carpenter, regional sales manager for Akai, upgrades Crane's rigs every 6 months. Shoulder-mounted cameras, portable decks, color monitors. Crane converts spare bedrooms into mini studios, rigs tripods with remote triggers, and perfects flattering lighting for bedroom angles. He catalogs encounters by date, starring partner and comedic merit. Patty stumbles onto the archive and is horrified. Crane insists it's harmless fun, research into human behavior, even material for a future book. Carpenter rarely leaves Crane's side, co-piloting cross-country trips, prowling Phoenix bars, luring would-be actresses back for screen tests. Hotel maids complain of cables snaked across carpets. Crane scribbles release forms on Hilton stationery. Many women sign, lured by the Colonel Hogan legend. Others do not, seeding whisper networks that tarnish his name. 1971, CBS cancels Hogan's Heroes. Dawson lands a panelist seat on Match Game, tossing double entendre like champagne corks. America guffaws. Producers spin him into a pilot for Family Feud. Crane, meanwhile, headlines Disney's Superdad, a lukewarm box office blip. Casting directors pigeonhole him as the POW guy. Dinner theater beckons. Beginner's luck. The Odd Couple, Cactus Flower. Crane relishes live audiences, yet friends notice desperation beneath the smiles. Each newspaper clipping of Dawson kissing contestants flavors Crane's coffee with bitterness. He circles advertisements for VHS duplication services, wondering how to monetize the dozens of tapes stacked in his closet. Rumors escalate that Dawson pursued a woman Crane fancied during season 4. Some say an extra, others a network publicist. Crane believes every version. He once confronts Dawson in the commissary. "You think anyone laughs at you? They laugh because I set you up." Dawson emits a half laugh, half scoff, and replies, "Really, Bobby? Then why is the punchline mine?" Crew members freeze. A spoon clangs to the linoleum. From that morning onward, Crane refers to Dawson only as that smug parasite. When reporters ask about the show's camaraderie, Crane's smile stiffens. Not every camp has friendly prisoners. Dawson, for his part, offers nothing but a practiced shrug and pivots conversation to feud ratings. June 1978. Phoenix's desert air seems to fry every shadow. Crane leases a tan Cadillac, drums nightly at Tramp's nightclub, then hurries to the Windmill Dinner Theater to play The Hapless Husband in Beginner's Luck. Applause remains warm. Critics use phrases like veteran charm. Apartment 132, A at Winfield Place, is equal parts crash pad and video suite. Twin beds pushed together for camera angles. Tripods leaning like steel skeletons. Reels labeled in shorthand only Crane can decode. Carpenter flies in from Los Angeles, occupies a motel nearby, fine-tunes coax cables, and scours local bars for willing co-stars. June 28th, 11:45 p.m. Restaurant receipt shows 2 steaks, 2 bourbons. Security camera catches Crane and Carpenter shaking hands in the parking lot at 12:30 a.m. The sun rises. Crane attends a matinee, cracks his drumsticks backstage until splinters fly. After curtain, he retreats. June 29th, 2:15 p.m. Co-star Victoria Berry wrestles Crane's lock open after he misses a lunch call. She screams as the door swings. Crane's body lies in a reddened cradle of pillows, head fractured. Detectives speculate the weapon was his tripod. Lenses are smeared crimson. Tape reels stare like unblinking witnesses, but whatever footage was recorded the previous night is missing. Scottsdale police drag Lake Mead searching for metal poles, examine 120 hours of tape, and interview dozens of women from Crane's Black Book. Carpenter fails a polygraph but insists on innocence. Prosecutors lack fingerprints, blood, or the tripod. 1992. Television movie Autofocus rekindles public fascination. Forensic labs test old evidence with new DNA kits. A fleck of tissue on a cord matches Carpenter's blood type, but not his DNA. Too weak for conviction. 1994 trial ends with a sweltering courtroom gasp. Not guilty. Carpenter dies in 1998. Secrets intact. The murder file stays open, now dusty, still chilling. Bob Crane's home movies trickle into archives. Scholars debate their ethics. Voyeuristic horror or anthropological journal of 1970s liberation. Music historians preserve his drum tracks. He'd record jazz flourishes between theatrical cues, laying down grooves that reveal a finesse unseen on television. Hogan's Heroes reruns continue globally. Hogan forever winking into camera, plot after plot, outsmarting bumbling guards. Viewers seldom glimpse the off-screen fissures. Dawson's Family Feud reruns air back-to-back on cable. His kiss per episode average unbeatable. 2 men, eternally adjacent in late-night lineups divided by silence. Bob Crane's saga is a cautionary overture in 3 movements: the triumphant cymbal crash of early fame, the feverish mid-tempo duel with Richard Dawson, and the abrupt, chilling coda that still reverberates through Hollywood crime lore. Listen closely, and you can hear the syncopation of brilliance and self-sabotage marching side by side. Crane's natural rhythm, those lightning snare fills and lightning-faster ad-libs could electrify any audience. Yet the same rhythm drove him at double time toward excess. More laughs, more lovers, more videotapes, more validation to drown out the nagging fear that Dawson's barbed wit might one day eclipse him entirely. That fear became a self-fulfilling backbeat. While Dawson sailed smoothly from wartime corporal to game show royalty, Crane scrambled between dinner theater marquees, dragging video gear heavier than his luggage, chasing applause he once commanded without trying. In each fresh city, he replayed their on-set rivalry like a loop of outtakes, telling friends and strangers that Dawson had stolen the spotlight or never cared about the ensemble. The act grew stale, yet Crane couldn't drop the drumstick. He kept striking the same bitter note until it rang louder than the applause he craved. Then came Scottsdale, one final booking, one last swing at relevance. Whether his murder was the tragic fallout of a reckless private pastime, an accident of wrong time, wrong friend, or the darkest echo of the Dawson feud, remains speculative lore. What is undeniable is how swiftly the narrative pivoted, from sitcom royalty to tabloid cautionary tale, from family man to voyeuristic curiosity, from beloved Colonel Hogan to headline about a bludgeoned body and a missing tripod. Richard Dawson, ever the gamesman, never played Crane's posthumous drama. He offered no elegy, no rebuttal, no crumbs for conspiracy hunters. His silence became another riddle layered over the unsolved case, leaving fans to wonder whether restraint masked indifference, regret, or an old strategist's instinct that some games are unwinnable in the public square. Years have blurred their legacies into two intertwined reruns. Late-night cable still loops Hogan's heroes, immortalizing Crane's infectious grin opposite Dawson's cheeky wink. Frozen allies despite the frost behind the scenes. Flip the channel and Dawson hosts Family Feud, kissing contestants and delivering survey punchlines with an ease that once haunted Crane's dreams. Side by side, their images beam into living rooms, unaware that viewers might feel an invisible tension thrumming beneath the laugh track. Bob Crane never earned a neat curtain call, but the questions he left behind keep his story drumming onward. Why does talent so often travel with insecurity? How thin is the line between charisma and compulsion? And in the applause-soaked arenas of fame, can any performer ever share the spotlight without fearing its light will drift? Perhaps the answer lies in those dusty videotapes, cells of magnetic memory that captured Crane chasing immortality one frame at a time. Or perhaps the answer flickers each time Dawson lowers that winning grin and asks, "Survey says," reminding us that in show business, victories and vendettas are broadcast in the same bright glow. One man took the prize, the other took the fall, yet both remain echoing through static, forever locked in a rivalry that outlived them, pulsing like an undying drumbeat beneath Hollywood's endless spotlight.